Hello, everybody. It's Kateri,
And Owen.
and welcome to the Soothsayer's Tea. And today we're going to be discussing superstitions.
Yeah, in all of the many, many forms that they come in.
Yeah, so we did a little bit of research on this, and it's
Yeah.
very interesting how many of these things are have some basis in witchcraft, and how many do not have any basis in witchcraft at all, and some are just
Fucking hilarious.
hilarious, and a lot of
Yeah.
them just kind of they just kind of go through. They're just cultural. They just kind of land through, and for whatever reason, our
Yeah.
parents said it, and their parents said it, and their parents said it, and it just kind of became a thing.
It's also interesting how many we sort of like share.
Yeah, I know that one of them that I have on the list here, I know for a fact has kind of come up in foreign media, which is interesting. So I'm
Hmm. I'm
definitely
very
interested to talk
interested.
about it. One of the first things is the whole four-leaf clover thing.
Oh God, getting right into it.
Getting right into it.
Um,
So I always had this inkling because I question everything that's on this side of the pond that is being touted as Celtic or Irish at this point. But the
as you
whole
should.
four leaf clover thing is not Irish.
Yeah. No, it is not. We don't really have that. Because of sort of like globalization and Americanization, the internet and stuff. We do know of it, but it's not necessarily like a traditional superstition. But like my mother, for example, because she spent a little bit of time like growing up in Canada, on the day that she found out that she was pregnant with me, she did find a four-leaf clover in our garden in Ireland. So like we have it, like it exists, and like people know of it, but it's not really a huge thing. We also don't call them clovers; we call them shamrocks because it just sounds better in our accents, to be honest.
It's just superior. But it has something to do with the Trinity, doesn't it?
Yeah, the original sort of like symbology behind shamrocks, was because of Saint Patrick, allegedly, um, converted the. So, okay, a disclaimer: a lot of these superstitions are going to be very heavily based in Christianity and are not necessarily the true sort of origins and more so the common known ones. I'll try to explain that a little bit more on a case by case basis. But for now, simplistically, our sort of concept of like the shamrock and why it is important to Irish people is because when St. Patrick came over and converted all the pagans to Christianity, which did, it's not how it worked, but we move. He did this by like picking a shamrock and pointing to the three leaves and being like, "This is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit," and it's very representative of the Holy Trinity. And so, even in folk magic and stuff like that, shamrocks do hold sort of spiritual significance because of this. But there are other reasons too. Like there's more stuff attached with than that. But that is the basic. That's what you need to know type thing.
Yeah, and honestly, the first thing I can think of when you said like, okay, Saint Patrick pointed at these three leaves and was like, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. All I could just think of was like the crowd then clapped and everybody became Christians, and somebody handed Saint Patrick a crisp $100 bill because that
Mhm.
sounds very, very true, and that's exactly how it went, and that's exactly how Ireland became Catholic. It's
Uh-huh.
exactly how it happened.
It's not even remotely true that there was Christians in Ireland before St. Patrick. No, absolutely not.
No,
There's no way that it's more nuanced than a single man who converted an entire country to a different religion. Surely not.
over a leaf at that.
Yeah.
Three leaves. Yeah, so clovers is actually or four leaf clovers because we call them clovers over here, and you'll hear shamrock here and there.
Like,
But for the most part, they're clovers, and it has a lot to do with the flower that grows on it. Your clovers over there, they grow like the little pink flowers, don't they? Like the weird kind of coney flowers, or no?
yes.
Okay, you
In
know what I'm talking
quotation.
about, though, right?
I do. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Because okay,
Uh,
sorry, 1 second. We call that clover.
yes.
Actually, now that I think about it, we do call that clover, but we don't call it clover before
Okay.
it has a flower.
Which is funny. So we call the flower, it's all clovers, right? Funny enough. But yeah, so the four leaf clover is actually pretty rare. I used to find them a lot as a kid. We had like a mutant patch right outside the door of our house, and they would get like 5 leaf clovers, 6 leaf clovers. Like they're fucked up little clovers, is what they were. But that actually, there's very little information of where it came in as a good luck charm. There is um there is something that we again,
Like
all I can
speculation.
yeah, all I can really find was something on Wikipedia that said a description from 1869 said a four leaf clovers were gathered at night time during the full moon by sorceresses who mix it with vervain and other ingredients, while young girls in search of the token of perfect happiness made quests by the plant by day. And it says here that when it comes to the source on that, it's not very clear. It just seems to be a vegetable terrology of counter principle deviations from the unusual construction of plants by Robert Hardwickel. Anyway, it's something in London, but it seems like the first kind of comment on four leaf clovers was actually witchcraft.
Yeah, I am very, very, very deeply skeptical of that, but I also don't necessarily have any sources to contradict it, so
Yeah,
that's what we'll go with for now.
but I
Um,
think it really comes into just the rarity of it because if you're looking through a clover patch and you find a four leaf one,
yeah.
um, it's it's not very common. And the fact that the clover or the shamrock is capable of just spitting out an extra leaf, it's got to have some sort of significance to it. I think for the most part is that this is definitely more of a folk tradition thing, and it really is actually dependent on not just the country, but the area that you're in. But for the most part, it's associated with luck. But like, do four leaf clovers even come up as a concept over your way?
Um, in media, yes. In folk practice, no. For us, like at least where I am and in my sort of traditions, we would really only use the shamrock as a signifier for like the Trinity or some form of like Holy Trinity, basically. That is really it. The we don't even okay, hold on. Sidebar for a second. Do you have shamrock shakes?
Oh yeah,
What
but
are
that's
those? Can you
okay.
explain to me what that is? Because I see it all of the time and I have no fucking clue. I know it's green and I know it's Mackey's and that's literally it.
So a shamrock shake is like it's just like a mint chocolate, not even chocolate. It's just like a mint shake. Because you get milkshakes at
Yes.
McDonald's, right?
Yes,
It's
yes,
just a
yes.
mint. It's just a mint one that has green on it, and they sell it around St. Patrick's Day.
I
Um,
will die. I will kill myself. I want mint milkshake is my favorite flavor of milkshake, and you're seriously telling me that the fucking country that they're ripping off doesn't even have access to it? I will kill someone.
yep. Sorry. It's been like a very, 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 very long time. But why I'm thinking chocolates that sometimes they come out with like a mint chocolate one.
Mint chocolate
Yeah,
shakes. Yeah.
mint chocolate shakes. But for the most part, it's just mint milkshake that's
Hmm.
sold in March, and they call it a Shamrock Shake.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, well we wear shamrocks around that time.
Hmm.
Like for St. Patrick's Day, we'll wear usually, like tinfoil or what do you call it? Aluminum foil, I think.
Yes, tinfoil.
Um yeah. We literally like they sell these in shops. It's literally just like wrapped like a bunch of shamrocks wrapped in tinfoil and like you stick it to your coat basically. Like a little flower bunch.
Okay.
Like a I almost said like a corset. What are those called again?
A corsage.
Yes,
Corsage.
thank you.
Yes.
Like a corsage. Um but for your chest. And that's about the extent of it.
That's it seems so benign again. I feel like I don't know if people associate necessarily a four leaf clover with Irishness, to be honest with you. Like the more I think about it, I think it's just more or less associated with luck. Just because again, the rarity of it, and you have to kind of go out of your way to stick your nose on the ground and because clovers don't grow up very tall by any means. So you really have to be looking for one, right? And I've done many a search as a child, and I found I wouldn't say like a butt ton, probably like five or
I
six.
would slightly disagree on that, mainly because almost every time I've seen a four-leaf clover, like even in media or like in media, like even on social media and stuff, when people will put like hashtag Irish, and by like people I mean descendants of diaspora, will put like hashtag Irish, and then they'll use like the four-leaf clover emoji. I see it associated with luck a lot, but mostly like luck of the Irish in
Yeah,
quotation marks sort of thing. Like that's where I sort of see it. um I don't really see it much as a standalone thing, at
gotcha.
least in my experience of it.
That could be very much a social media thing, but that's fair. Whenever time I think Irish, or again, whatever this version of Irish is over here, it's usually associated with the shamrock for sure.
Hmm. Oh, fun facts actually about emojis and hashtags.
Mhm.
One of the most popular Irish Irish hashtags on TikTok is literally hashtag Irish and then the Ivory Coast flag. And I'm presuming this is from like America, because like that's insane to me. It's very funny. Like hashtag Irish and then orange, white, and green. Like please, like
uh,
Google it. Just literally Google it.
yeah,
Speaking, hold
that
on.
hurts.
Follow up sidebar. Do you know what I discovered the other day for the very first time? And I don't know if you know this. You probably do. The fucking flag of the UK is not symmetrical.
No, is this because of Reddit? Because I saw it on Reddit, where
I
yeah,
saw it on TikTok, I think.
yeah, no, they definitely stole it from Reddit, but yeah, they don't. It doesn't actually line up. Once they took away like all the things that don't line up, it's very obviously does not line up, and which is
Yeah.
hilarious.
No, like it's the four red lines in the corner. Because okay, the TikTok was basically it was this guy who worked at Tesco, I think, or Sainsbury's or something, and he had
Mhm.
to paint the like UK flag outside, and a bunch of people were telling him like, "Oh, be careful not to paint it upside down." And he was like, "This is obviously just a hilarious joke because there's no way you can paint it upside down." But it's the red lines that go from the corners to the center. They're not symmetrical. And that was it. And I was losing my mind. I think I tweeted about this. I think I tweeted about this using some very harsh language, actually. um, but yeah, disgusting, truly vile.
I love how we started off like, "Hey, let's talk about clovers," and you're like, "Fuck the UK flag."
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Fuck the UK flag for a number of reasons, but mainly because it's not fucking symmetrical. What is that about?
Oh my god, that's off the rails. Off the rails.
Oh, that is mind
So
blowing.
now the people do know is that yeah, clovers are probably more likely a Western thing than Irish thing
Than a
overall.
slightly less Western thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a little more like just you got to
It's a little
swim.
further west than one might have thought.
Yeah, you gotta swim a little bit.
Hmm.
But again, I do recognize their association with luck. And it is interesting that it seems like the earlier, not necessarily earliest, but the earlier kind of attachments to four leaf clovers might have been kind of associated with the craft, or at least. And that's actually an interesting conversation as well, because a lot of things that are kind of associated with witchcraft, are they associated with witchcraft because they're actually witchcraft, or is that because the Christians thought it was associated with witchcraft?
I mean, yeah, that's a huge thing as well. I mean, even like within Irish folk practices and within Irish paganism or whatever, we have like the direct translation of the word superstition into Irish is pishog, but a pishog or like on pishog, oh, see now that's debatable. I said pishogi, and so people are going to come for me because people were like the people who like did pishogs were pishogi, but I use the term in the very literal sense of the plural of pishog. So if you're gonna come for me for that, please shut up. I know I don't care. I literally don't care. But the direct translation of superstition into Irish is pishog, but a pishog in Irish, like folk practices and stuff, is a superstition, but it's also can be like sort of a hex or a curse or a good luck charm. And so that the in within Irish like folk practices, the line between superstitions and like witchcraft is extremely blurred. It's not even really a line, it's basically the same thing.
Yeah, and I think that's where we can kind of make a little bit of a joke where a lot of people are very much so, and not so much nowadays. Let's be realistic. Like nowadays, paganism, witchcraft in general, is not as shat upon like it was in our parents' youth and even in
Mm,
our youth, right? Um, but it comes into is that like a lot of things that are people are superstitious about have a lot of roots in the craft, right? A lot of things that they
mm,
do, horseshoes and such like that. Those are a lot of this folk magic, and I
yeah.
find it really funny that a lot of people who are like opposed to witchcraft and magic and all that have a lot of superstitions. It's
Mhm. Yeah.
it's
A lot
a
of even like Christian superstition in quotation marks, because the thing is, within Christianity, superstition isn't necessarily a thing, but because Christianity is not a monolith, and because it's people who practice it, what people don't realize is that a lot of the things that they're doing that they would consider sort of Catholic stem from cultural folk practices that existed either before Christianity or were invented or sort of assimilated by Christianity.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's the thing is that this is always going to be a chicken and an egg situation. I think that
Yeah.
people like listen. I know less about this than you do, but you have taken religious study. You recognize that a lot of these origins have been lost, just because people either chose not to write them down, or when it comes to oral traditions, and I know a lot about oral traditions, just being Mi'kmaq myself, things change. Oral traditions can shift, and they shift at the times. They and especially in situations like this, even nowadays where we're kind of on a global scale when it comes to culture and stuff like that, people can accidentally kind of steal culture. Unless you're
Mm,
intentionally doing it, then that's cultural appropriation. But there's a lot of overlap nowadays, so
yeah.
origins for a lot of things can get a little blurry at times.
I actually, yeah, exactly. I would actually really like to circle very quickly back to that. In terms of oral traditions and stuff being written down, what I see a lot of, and I'm getting on my soapbox, okay? I literally have a planned in the Trello soap. Oh wait, no, this is it. Okay, never mind. I have soapbox written in the Trello board because I was prepared for this,
Go for
but
it, princess. Just go for it.
listen, I see a lot, and I mean a lot, of Irish Americans and Irish Australians and Irish descendants of diaspora, essentially. And even Irish people. I see a lot of Irish people do this too. When they're like searching out Irish paganism or Irish folk practices, they're like, I can't find anything that hasn't been like tainted by Christianity. Where are the resources that aren't Christian? And I'm just kind of sitting here like, listen to me right now. You are not even aware of the privilege of that you have right now, the fact that you can even see these Christian resources, because I'll see a lot of people talk a lot of shit about Christian monks who originally recorded sort of Irish oral tradition, because they changed some of it. They changed some of it to fit a more Christian ideology. Like even in sort of stuff like with Tierna Nog being painted as very heavenly, and stuff like that. Just very minor things like that. But the reality of it is, for the most part, they were incredibly accurate to the source material. They didn't really change that much. And on top of that, in modern times, the folk practices all over Ireland, I can almost guarantee, are at least a little bit Christian, because pre-Christian Irish paganism is kind of dead, guys. It's kind of gone. It kind of left a very very long time ago, and there's no bringing it back 100% accurately. If you truly want to be an Irish pagan or an Irish folk practitioner, you're gonna need to sort of work through some of that religious trauma, and you're gonna need to accept that. To like actually do this properly, you're going to need to be a little bit Catholic, or at least like understand what that Catholicism is a very huge part of Irish folk practice. I know that that's kind of a hot take, because I'm telling you like without saying like this is my opinion, but I believe so strongly in this opinion that it is fact, and I've also done the research on this. You're not going to find any accurate sort of testimonials or like writings or anything that are pre-Christian and aren't tainted by Christianity in quotation marks. Even a lot of the stuff that we know about Bridget, one of the most popular in quotation marks, Irish goddesses, is heavily informed by our knowledge of Saint Bridget. Oh, voice crack. That was hot. Of
I
Saint Bridget.
congratulations on hitting puberty. Continue.
Thank you. Thank you. I've been waiting for many fucking years. But all of this, almost a very large amount of the information that we have is informed by Saint Bridget. And even like one of the like source texts that I recommend people read is the Bethel Brigta, which is the life of Saint Bridget, because it overlaps so heavily with Bridget the goddess. And that's I'm stepping down. I've said my piece. I'm stepping down off my soapbox. Basically, you cannot separate Christianity and Irish paganism.
Yeah, and I think that really comes into my piece on that is just that what makes you think that Christianity was not influenced by paganism,
Yeah, I mean that too.
right?
Like Irish Catholicism is heavily influenced by Irish paganism and vice versa.
Yeah, a significant amount, like even to a certain extent, one can argue, especially when it comes to Roman Catholicism, it's just basically Roman religion kind of tied up in a nice little Christian bow. It just has like a little Christian like slap of paint on it, but it feels very, very Roman in nature, especially when it comes to like the Roman gods and such. But anyway, that's a full on can of worms that we can get into. But it is true because the thing is that a lot of the origins of a lot of these superstitions, again, they are built, they're kind of built on religious concepts, right? I think that religion in general has a lot of um, I wouldn't say they have a lot of thought. They have a lot of thought and a lot of opinions on the concept of luck and karma. When I say karma, I mean like the Western idea of karma, not the actual proper version of karma, but just like the concept of like reward and punishment and how are we influence that. And
Hmm.
when it comes to superstitions, when we talk about superstitions, we're talking like very common ones that almost a lot of people kind of really pay attention to. It's fun. It's very interesting. Even people who are not religious, they still subscribe to these superstitions, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Because at this point, superstitions are like okay. Even in Ireland, I'm always going to circle back to Ireland because that is my nature. But we aren't super religious anymore. We're still very. I'm so sorry. I had to sneeze. We are still a very religious sort of country. But as people, we're not as religious as we were, but we are as superstitious as ever. Superstition at this point is heavily, heavily intertwined with our culture, even more so than religion is.
Oh yeah, 100%. And again, I'm not here to talk about any other religions, but you see it a lot in Japanese culture as well. Super superstitious, right? Especially when it comes to ghosts and stuff like that. When the country overall is, from what I understand, is wholly unreligious in general. Canada, same idea. I don't meet a whole lot of religious people anymore, but there's a lot of spiritual people. And again, that comes into like what is spirituality? Let's be spirituality. If you're spiritual, you're religious. Deal with it. Suck it up. You're religious. You just
Yeah, we had a in my I think it was my anthropology course,
Mhm.
or I don't know. It was one of my fucking courses anyway. We literally did an entire. Oh no, it might have been concepts and methods. This is so irrelevant. But we read a paper called "Spiritual but Not Religious," and it was basically like a takedown of that phrase because I'm not gonna lie, I kind of loved it. I because okay, a lot of the time when people say they're spiritual but not religious, they will say things like the universe instead of God,
God.
but they will talk about the universe in the exact same way that they would talk about God. They're just using different words, and it's like, and when I say God, I mean Christian God because it's you see it a lot, especially in New Age spirituality.
Yeah.
Um, they're just using sort of buzzwords to replace like Christianity, and they're very much basically evangelical Christians with a little glittery top hat on, and it's like, shut up, please, deep down from deep down in my soul, I need you to shut up.
Yeah. And it's like it's complicated because I do understand the concept of religious trauma, and by all means. But on the flip side of the coin, people need to just kind of understand why they're doing things and what their influences are, honestly, at the end of the day. But to quote Owen, we move.
Hmm.
Let's talk about broken mirrors.
Let's talk about broken mirrors. I have broken many mirrors in my lifetime. Um,
Explains everything.
it kind of does, now that I think about it. I was gonna say I'm not necessarily a very unlucky person, however, that is objectively not true. Um, we have a lot of sort of folk tales and stuff surrounding mirrors. If you all want to check them out, you can check out ducas.ie or ducas.ie if you want to say it properly, but you can't add a file in a HTML email, blah, 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 whatever. You know what it is. It's linked in my link tree. And you search for mirror, you probably won't find a lot, but if you search for looking glass, then you will.
Yes.
There's a lot of stories on Ducas about the sort of significance of looking glasses in Irish folklore. There we go. I almost just said folk taleology. That was a trip. But yeah, we have that whole like don't break them bad luck thing. It's not necessarily huge, but and it's not necessarily like the 7 years bad luck thing. It's not that traditional. It's usually if you break a mirror in the house, that house will have bad luck, unless so you will have 7 years of bad luck. But of course, it's regional.
Yeah, and I think that's it's always regional, and I find that humans are obsessed with mirrors. Like, there's something about mirrors that
Oh
just
yeah.
skeeves us out. I think it's like you're looking at yourself, and I think that for some people, maybe it's hard to look at another human that's mirroring them. Maybe they don't recognize themselves, or maybe they do recognize themselves too much and they don't like it. But mirrors just freak people out. Um, as a side note, on the craft side, we hear a lot of people locking their mirrors because it is a portal back and forth. From what I understand, that is only in the concept of silverback mirrors, if you want to go into folklore. Unless you have a silverback mirror, which means that your mirror's gonna be old as shit. You don't have to lock your mirrors or cover your mirrors at night. Um,
Yeah, and I mean, I don't actually know where that originates from culturally. I'm sure it's a couple different things, but we don't do that.
yeah,
That's not a thing for us, at
yeah.
least.
I think it's just because this is concept of silver, silver being kind of useful in the craft. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't got an actual definite answer on that one, but from what I understand, one of the origins for broken mirrors is that it comes into scrying, water scrying and such like that. They would, especially the Greeks, would scry in silver bowls or silver mirrors, and if you saw a distorted face, that would either indicate that person was evil or they were going to die soon. And then breaking a mirror and seeing a shattered you're like a face in a shattered mirror was really bad. So the whole concept of having a broken mirror in your house is a bad omen, bad sign, bad idea.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty standard one. It's not that deep, bro. But like
No.
it's something that I think a lot of people will recognize, especially from sort of pop culture and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the reason why it kind of comes to that again, people just don't like.
Yeah, they just don't like looking at themselves in a broken mirror.
Well, again, I think like I. How many times have you put up a new mirror in your house and then you walk by and you're like, "What the fuck's that?" Right?
um I'm gonna say at least once.
Yeah, minimum once, right? I
Mhm.
think when we see things out of the corner of our eyes, it kind of freaks us out a little bit. And there might be reasons for that. I know that I have definitely seen things in mirrors um, for myself. So this actually might be a very much so a multicultural or a cross cultural thing.
Mhm.
Mirrors definitely have a significance in my practice. A very common, basically, protection is like a mirror box. So I think it does have some merit to it. Keeping broken mirrors in your house, I don't think that's a good idea. And I think that has a lot to do with just our reflections in general. I think reflections are important to people. It's important
Yeah.
to me. I love looking at myself. I look great.
I Yeah. I mean, I honestly I've never put that much stock in mirrors. They're not really a huge thing for us. Um Reflections definitely a little bit more so. Like for us, even like scrying and stuff like that, or like that sort of type of divination would have been done in rock pools by the ocean because the beach and sort of the ocean was a very liminal space. And liminality and sort of like that gap, not that gap, but that connection to the other world is very much a huge thing in Irish paganism. It's a very, very important concept. So mirrors are sort of like portable liminal spaces, I guess, in that sort of sense, but we're not big on portable liminal spaces. We're very much big on the natural ones that have been there for very long times. Very long times? A very long time.
Yeah. So again, there's not really one set origin for this. But this is for
Yeah.
something for some odd reason it's kind of close to me. I don't like broken mirrors. It skees me out a little bit, which is funny because
Fair
I
enough.
mirrors are a part of my practice, but they're not a big part of my practice. Um, but I don't like them when they're broken. When they're broken, I'm just like, something about that's rustling my jimmies, and I don't quite know why, but it's
Mhm.
the jimmies have been rustled. Um, yeah, I think the next we have on the list really here is so we went into a few ones that are like very clearly kind of like folklore based. Opening
Mhm.
up umbrellas though inside.
Oh my god.
Um,
Yeah.
this is actually funny because um, any kind of like origins I've heard about this like smell really bullshitty. The one I saw is just like, oh, in Egypt, like there used to be umbrellas and they're only for royalty, and if you open up inside, it was an insult to the sun god. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Doesn't make any
Mhm.
sense to me. But what does make sense is that umbrellas are chaotic, messy pieces of machinery, and probably especially so before mass production.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you've ever opened an umbrella inside and couldn't get it closed. It really fucking sucks because the thing is unwieldy and it knocks
Mhm.
shit over. And back in the day, I'm assuming when they opened them up, they probably like snapped right open and
Yeah.
probably shot small kids with the pieces flying out of it. It's
Uh,
just less that it's bad luck to open an umbrella inside. It's just that why would you want
it's
to?
just a bad idea overall. It's just not something that's going to go necessarily very well.
Yeah.
Um, I personally just had the biggest little brain fart of my life because I was like, umbrellas aren't even that old, right? Umbrellas have to be like max 200 years old. And I Googled it and it's like 1000 BC. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's starting to make a lot more sense. But honest, okay, we moved from that. We're going to pretend that that did not happen.
No, but like I'm like even now, like if somebody opens an umbrella in the doors, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like I'm immediately perturbed by it. And not because of bad luck, I just like, are you stupid? Like is
Are
your
you trying to take my eye out?
yeah, pretty much like you don't know how to wield that thing. It's just like they snap open so aggressively. And it's just like you could knock shit over. I like to have my eyes in my head. How smooth is your brain? Like, don't do this.
Even outdoors, umbrellas are dangerous. I was walking down the street the other day with my umbrella and the wind picked up and it nearly like decapitated this old lady who was walking in the opposite direction. And I was like, sorry. And very quickly ran away as she shouted at me in Dutch. And I was like, ah.
Honestly, though, with how like messed up umbrellas are, I'm surprised there's not like a spiritual aspect behind it. It's like, nah, just umbrellas are just dicks.
Umbrellas are like possessed.
No, they're not possessed. They're just dicks. They're just terrible pieces of man-made machinery that just really suck.
As
They're
an animist, my UPG is that umbrellas suck.
they're just the complete assholes. It does remind me, and I'm pulling this out of my ass right now. I know it exists. I know that Japanese yokai do have like an umbrella um, creature. I'm not gonna say this because I'm gonna pronounce it wrong. I'll try it. Kasa Obake. It's basically it is a umbrella, and they have one foot, and they have arms, and they have one eye, and I think that they kind of show up if you don't use your umbrella enough, or you leave your umbrella somewhere. It becomes a ghost and just fucks with people.
That sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, so they have one eye and they have one, sometimes 2 feet. Again, it depends. Um, but a lot of it just has to do with um, either if you don't use your umbrella or if you misuse your umbrella, it just tries to kill you, I guess. Makes sense. I
Yeah,
mean, like,
makes sense to me.
they my
Um,
regular ass umbrella tries to kill us all the time, so it makes sense to
mhm.
me.
Speaking of using your umbrellas, actually, let's talk about. Well, okay, I'm going to talk about throwing water out the window at nighttime or without looking out the window first. Okay, so this is a very sort of obscure, um, well, maybe obscure is not the right word, but like sort of old and sort of not really relevant anymore superstition. However, in my lifetime, I've definitely thrown a lot of water out the window or out the door, like because okay, I do my dishes in the sink, of course. No, but I mean, I hand wash a lot of things because it's cheaper and because I'm not going to do a full load of laundry for one thing. And so I will be throwing that laundry water away afterwards. And there's superstition in Ireland, and I'm sure it exists in other countries too, that when you're throwing out the laundry water or dirty water of any kind, you need to either look out your window first or you need to save it until it's bright enough out that you can see. And the reason for this is you don't want to accidentally like throw a bucket of dirty water over a fairy or like some any kind of like supernatural creature that might be lurking outside your window or just passing by. I think there's a story in God, one of the Yates collections of fairy tales that about a woman who throws her dirty water out the window without looking, and it like soaks a fairy, and then she like dies 2 days later, or she's like bedridden and like sick to death or something like that. Um, I don't really know the origins of this. Well, I know I literally just explained the origins of this. I don't think that there are any necessarily sort of like practical origins to this one, as there are with the umbrella story. But I I still do this to this day. I will look out my window or I will check before I throw something at it or any like water of any kind because don't want to be rude.
Wow. Oh, like I feel like is that might be like again, where's the origin of that one? Is it because of fairy? Or is it because
Yeah,
did somebody get soaked and they're like, if you keep doing that, a fairy's gonna come get you? Like,
I honestly don't know. It wouldn't genuinely surprise me if it was just purely because of fairies because like the amount of our superstitions, I would say at least half are to do with like the good neighbors and like the fair folk or whatever you want to call them, anything but fae for the love of God. Never say that in front of me. I will cry. I just hate the word fae so much. It boils my blood. It actually fucking puts me round the twist. Um Moving quickly on. But like even the superstition of not saying like fairies or whatever name you want to call them, um, because they will hear you and they consider it insulting or like they don't want to hear you talking about them or like it's bad luck to talk about them. The endless list of superstition when it comes to saying the word fairy, um, and that sort of stuff. Like it's not a particularly based in reality superstition. It's very much more the mystical folk side of things.
yeah, because like the question I have about that, like, how much of that is boogeymen compared to like an actual like established folkloric superstition? If that makes any sense.
It doesn't, but I think I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, honestly, from what I've seen and the sources I've read, it is genuinely mostly based on fairy lore and sort of superstition surrounding that, and less so based on real life events, even though that would make more sense. Um, we were just very superstitious people and we honestly still kind of are like okay, if you go to Ireland is a very superstitious country, especially outside of the cities. Even in the cities it's very superstitious, but especially when you go out into those sort of more rural areas, it's everywhere. Superstition is the ruler of rural Ireland.
I mean, like, really, they're in the rural area. Of course, there's going to be a bunch of spirits around screwing things up. I don't necessarily
Yeah.
blame them. Speaking about throwing things, salt over the shoulder.
Oh, yeah, blind the devil for you. Um, I honestly, I don't know if this is an actual Irish folklore tradition or just something we picked up online. But even from when I was like, I think we were making pancakes or Pancake Tuesday in fifth class, I think. So I would have been about 11, 10 or 11. Anyway, I had a bit of salt in my hand, and the teacher, and I was like going to throw it in the bin, and like my teacher was like, "Oh my god, no!" That's not what she sounded like. Oh my god. Um, but she was just like, "What are you doing that for? Like, don't be doing that. Don't be doing that. Throw that over your shoulder." And I was like, "Oh, okay, okay." And so I did, and so we have that too. I don't know why though.
Yeah, I think is that might come from Christianity more than anything.
Mm,
I know, again, I've heard people talk about Sumerians used to do it, blah 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 blah, but I've always heard it in the concept of if there's like a spirit or a demon over your shoulder, get the because salt is purifying. We all know this. It's not my favorite, and I'll tell you the main reason why. I don't want to have to vacuum or seep up fucking salt.
yeah, it's messy.
It's so messy, and it's just like I don't know. I know everybody who knows about this one, but I don't know anybody who actually does it in practice.
I don't necessarily do it in practice. I kind of do. Not necessarily with salt. Um, I have my own sort of combination of things that we will put around our house for protection in powder form and crystal form, whatever. Like crystal, I mean, not like amethyst crystal, as in like salt is a crystal. Um, and we throw it over our shoulders when we're spreading it around the house. And then we just sort of let it sit there until we sweep again. Or up in the air and sort of like or blowing it. Like there's a lot of stuff like that. I do that.
Yeah. No,
Basically
I
what I'm trying to
use
say.
a lot of my black salt and protections and I'll put it on my doorways and such like that. But that's a very I'm putting it in a very specific spot. I'm not just like throwing it over my shoulder and letting it land in the cat's eyes because that's definitely where the cat's going to be is behind me.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not trying to blind my cats here, but yeah, this seems to be more of a like a folklore thing more than anything. Um,
Yeah, there. I cannot even begin to conceptualize a practical reason why people are throwing salt over their shoulders.
yeah, exactly. But again, I think that comes into salt being a very multicultural, a cleansing, like I don't want to call it a herb seasoning. It's a very cleansing like property. Like salt is used in a lot of things. And honestly, salt is physically cleansing. Like we have preserved food in salt over the many millennia. So
Mhm.
it's not it's not out of the realm of like it's not that out there is what I'm getting at.
Also, isn't salt antibacterial?
I think so. Pretty sure it is, yeah. Like
Sorry, I'm googling it. Yeah.
99.8% sure it's antibacterial.
It's definitely something because yeah, it is. It is antibacterial. No, I knew it was antibacterial because saline is salt water,
Hmm.
and like
You
we
put
use
that
it
on
for
piercings.
yeah, we use it for cleaning wounds and stuff like that. Salt salt is good. Full stop.
Yeah.
Next item on the list.
Noses. So this is interesting because again, I don't really see any origin for it, but it's also interesting because I've seen it across multiple like cultures. But I don't know
Mhm.
if it's because it's connected other than maybe other cultures adopting it. But yeah, if you sneeze, somebody's thinking about you.
We we don't really have that. We have like if your ears are warm or if your ears are tingling, someone is talking or thinking about you. If you sneeze or if your nose is itchy, you're going to be in a fight with someone.
Mhm.
Uh, if your left hand or your right hand is itchy, I think it's either money is going coming your way or leaving.
Yeah, I've heard
Um,
that one.
what else is there? If your temples are, is it your temple? I think it's your temple. If your temple is itchy, you're gonna have like a headache. Um, and if your eyebrow is itchy, you're gonna scratch it. I guess I don't know. I can't remember. But yeah, we have a lot of stuff like that too.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is about people's noses. People are obsessed with their nose, and
Yeah,
it's always the nose, like sneezing or itchy nose. Itchy nose. I've also heard of somebody's thinking about you or talking about you. It's usually it's something to do with gossip. Um,
yeah,
oh,
true.
oh,
I've heard that too.
usually good gossip though. I've never really heard somebody's like, oh, somebody's talking shit about you. It's like, oh, somebody's got a crush on you and they're thinking about you, and now your nose is runny. It's like,
Oh, for us, it's if your right ear is warm. I think I can never remember which is which, but if your right ear is warm, someone is like shit talking you or not shit talking you, and if your left, like vice versa for the other ear. Like it depends
I
which
just
ear
need,
is itchy or red or warm.
I
But
don't, I need to know how itchy your ears get on a regular basis then.
honestly, I have four piercings in my ears, and the answer to that question is fairly regularly.
That's fair, but also that seems to be artificially induced.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah,
don't know if you can count that one.
the impossible to heal cartilage piercing be like I actually okay, this is something that I'm very proud of. I have a fully healed helix piercing, and I've had it less than a year.
That sucks.
My
That's
other one's
fair.
not, but this one is, so I am very deeply proud of that.
I'm very proud of you as well.
Thank you. Sucks to say
Um,
those who can't heal their piercings.
I think, well, this is an easy one. Number 13. That's really based in Christianity.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, that's just Judas is the 13th disciple. Friday the
Apostle.
apostle. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
apostle or disciple?
No, I
Oh,
think it's
apostle.
apostle. It's apostle.
Oh, yeah, sorry, that was my bad. So and also Friday the 13th as associations with Christ was crucified on a Friday. So it's
Yeah,
double bad luck because
double. Don't listen, guys. Just don't walk under a ladder that day because you will be fucked.
yeah, I don't know quite, like I gotten so many conflicting stories about the latter.
The ladder
Honestly,
thing, I wouldn't even want to bring up. I'm not gonna lie. I honestly have no idea.
I fully believe that it's just dangerous to walk
Yeah,
under a ladder, especially if
yeah.
somebody's on it. I
I
don't
mean,
know
that's
if
the
I
thing. A lot of superstitions and stuff are born out of like lessons.
yeah, lessons like, hey, you don't want to get smoked, or like if
Yeah.
a ladder breaks while somebody's on it, they're falling on your fucking head. So probably has something to do with it for sure.
Yeah, I
Um,
can imagine.
so yeah, lucky number 13. I would comment on the whole Loki being the 13th and all that, but I don't know enough about heathenism to make that association. Also, a lot of heathenism has been Christianized
Yeah.
for sure. So, and again, Heathen Weirdos is the podcast you want to listen to for more details on that. Um, so yeah, lucky like number 13, unlucky 13. That's a lot to do with just Judas being a dick.
hmm Yeah.
Fucking Judas.
Um, I don't know. What other superstitions are there? Oh,
Fuck
birds.
Burbs.
Birds. We have a lot of stuff. We have a lot about birds. Irish people are fucked up about birds. We love birds. Um,
Just
don't.
something about the birds.
Yeah, I mean, well, no, literally to the point where some superstitions have even been made into law. I think on the previous podcast episode, or it might have been in a private conversation with you, I talked about how harm. Oh my god, nope. This was literally on a date with someone. Okay,
Wow.
sorry. I was okay. Yeah, never mind. I will talk about it now. Um, basically, harming swans in Ireland is said to be very, very bad luck to the point where to this day it is in fact still illegal. Um, that there's the story behind that is basically I don't know if you've heard of it, but the children. Have you heard the story of the children of Lear?
No.
Oh God, right. Well, I'm not going to be telling it today. But for those of
Look it
you who
up.
want to look it up, children of Lear, Lir, not EER, LIR. Read it. It's good. It's a very, very popular Irish folktale. It's told all over Ireland. And it's not. It's very. It's just a fairy tale. But basically, don't harm swans. It's bad luck. Don't bring a dead wren into the house because someone will die. Magpies and that whole magpie rhyme, like one for sorrow, two for joy, three for girl, four for boy, five for something, six for something else, seven for a secret, and eight for something else. And then I think in some cases it goes up to like 16. Uh,
That's a lot of
we have
Magpies.
that a lot. That's a huge thing in Ireland. Oh, and also saluting a magpie. I don't know if you have this abroad, but if you see a magpie, you're supposed to either tell it the time. You're supposed to salute the magpie and tell it the time.
Why?
Otherwise, I don't know. Bad luck. There's a couple, like, it varies a little bit. Sometimes they're supposed to salute it. Sometimes they're supposed to say "Good morning, Mister Magpie." I think you always tell it the time. Um, I'm not. I'm a little. Apparently I'm a little vague on this one, but you know, birds hugely important. What about you?
Yeah, that's fair. So I think the reason why magpies are not a big thing for me, at least, is that they're not actually where I'm at in the country. They're going to be on the western side.
Mm-hmm.
They only go from the Yukon to Manitoba, apparently. Um, so I'm just sitting there. I'm like, yeah, bird, cool, magical bird. Um, Again, I can go into like kind of indigenous sides of things, but when it comes to actual like birds, like just kind of overarching. There's nothing I can think of right now except for the standard crows are bad, but crows are not bad. We love crows here. I think that's kind of dying out nowadays.
Hmm. I
Not so
think
much in birds.
I think in some um indigenous communities in America, I don't know about Canada, owls are supposed to be a symbol of
Yes, yes. So witch owls. Um, so I will definitely talk about that. So that's gonna be like my side of the country level.
hmm
So when it comes to the Mi'kmaq, the goose, or cuckoo, sorry, um, is owl, right? Now, owl is a bird that only elders are permitted to wear and have when it comes to regalia, because owls are very wise, they're very good, all the standard good stuff, right? But then there's witch owls. And the only reason why elders are allowed to have owl stuff is because they're the only ones to tell the difference. Um, Between a witch owl and an actual owl, because
hmm
witch owls are dicks and they will swoop at your head and they will take children. And this is not really so much superstition, as in, like, owls will try to take, they won't take children, but they will attack children. If you leave a child alone, like a baby, an owl will come for it and
Oh,
claw at it.
oh, I love that. I love that.
There is an again, this is more of an Eastern indigenous side if we're looking at North America.
hmm
The more south you go, the less they respect owls. Um, it gets to the point that they're all witch owls and they won't look them in the eye. There is a TV show that is on Disney Plus called Reservation Dogs, which is fantastic. And
I was going to say the owl house.
no, Reservation Dogs.
hmm
And it's a great TV show about kids living on a reservation, and they actually have like an owl figurine, and they blur out the eyes for the show.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah. So for Migma, is that it's very much so. It's a touch and go.
hmm
For the most part, we won't fuck with owls because we can't tell the difference unless we go through elderhood. So
hmm
only elders are permitted to have owls. But yeah, it's Gukugwes.
That is that is very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to say, I didn't want to get into it, but I was just like, yeah, you know what, we're gonna talk about it now.
I don't want to get into it, but
Yeah, we'll talk about it. So I like owls. I think they're really cool. I, for the sake of um for traditions, I don't keep owl stuff in my house. Um, just because it's not my, I didn't earn that to have owl
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah, fair enough. I love owls. Owls.
It was, yeah.
Owls.
Yeah.
Owls are very significant to me in a way that I will not be talking about today. But they are very, like, the owl symbology and stuff is actually a very important part of my practice and my family's practice, and it's very cute. I like it. Love me some owls. Um,
Oh,
but
owls are
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, they are.
Um, I think the last thing we can kind of chat on very quickly is black cats. I really feel like this is more of a like I wouldn't say superstition, but I feel like this is more of a artificial superstition, if that makes any sense. I don't feel like, how can I say this in a way that makes sense? I feel like this was made by Christians, if that makes any sense.
Mm. We have a lot of stuff with black cats in our sort of mythology and our folklore.
Okay,
Um, and a lot
Kachi,
of Irish. Huh?
the Kachi.
One more time.
Is it the Kachi? Am I saying that right? Or Kachi? There's a. There, I know that there's a cat fairy.
Yes? Question mark. I think we might be thinking of two different things. I'm gonna very quickly Google what you just said, because I think what you just said was this. But I don't want to make a fool of myself. Um, yeah, Angachi. That's Scottish,
Oh,
but
okay, sorry, that was my bad
no,
then.
don't no, it's all good. It's like there's a lot of overlap there. There is some stuff in Ireland about it. It's not really something I've seen a lot about. But like for example, like the
I'm sending.
Margans, huh?
Yeah, I'm sending it to you in Discord right now,
Okay, thank
so you
you.
can look at it.
Um, yeah, no, I googled it. I found it on About the Place. I also think it's something in Final Fantasy. Um,
Yeah, but I know that was definitely the Scottish edition of it.
the Scottish edition of Final
Scot-
Fantasy.
no, not the Scottish edition. It's just like the way that they spelt it was Scottish, not Irish.
Oh, yeah, whatever. The Anyway, no, sorry, cats. So
Yes, cats.
Namarigna, as before we go down another rabbit hole, like Namarigna's cave in Roscommon, is called like the cave of the cats, I guess.
Hmm.
Like no, not I guess. That's the translation, the cave of cats. And it's said to sort of be like a gate to hell if you're a Christian, or a sort of portal to the other world if you're not a Christian. And like it's a very actually important. I think it's a Cruachan. It's where it was the capital of Connacht, I believe, as well. And it's where Queen Maeve sat, like where her throne was. And Queen Maeve is arguably one of the Namarigna. Anyway, so there is another little bit of a link there. But even just outside of like mythology, in a lot of folklore, I black cats are said to guard things. Like they will guard sort of sacred bushes, or they will guard sort of gold in the way that a lot of people think leprechauns guard gold. Cats will sort of be the guardians of sort of things like this. There's also actually alternating folklore depending on where you are. If you see a cat or a magpie in the middle of the road, and the cat slash magpie, depending on where you're on the country, goes to the left, like goes to the left side of the road, like flies slash walks to the left side of the road. That's
Hmm.
very bad luck. Goes to the right side of the road, very good luck. That sort of thing. Um, but yeah, we do like they're definitely there in
Okay.
like history for us.
Yeah, so do scratch what I said because it's funny because I'm like, I feel like this is made up. And then I'm like, wait, Kachi. Like, that's not made up at all. That's very much so. Again, it's probably more Scottish than Irish. But I know that Kachi is definitely a thing, and I might be pronouncing it wrong. Um,
No, you've got it for the most part.
okay.
Like
Uh,
you've got it as well as your accent can handle it.
that's fair. As long as I'm pronouncing it correctly with
Yeah.
a Canadian accent, I'm okay with that.
Cool.
But yeah, so Kachi are they're all black with a little white spot on their chests and their dicks.
Yeah.
That's basically the gist of it. So yeah, you know what, that makes sense. And I guess um, there's some folklore of them of witches like transforming back and forth, up to 9 times, and at the ninth time they permanently turn into a cat. So, and that also comes from the idea that cats have 9 lives.
Oh, lovely.
So
Lovely.
that is actually based in folklore. I'm going to set the expectation right now, just because I'm not insulting any of the intelligence of any of our listeners, but I'm just going to throw it out there. Witchcraft cannot turn you into a cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
You'd
based
need a
on folk.
very, very good doctor.
Yeah, This is based off folklore, not the craft.
Not
Just
folk
want to,
fact.
yeah. So I'm just gonna set this expectation right now.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And with that, everybody, good luck.
Good luck. Don't break
Good
any
luck.
mirrors. Don't open any umbrellas in the house, you bloody
Hmm.
idiot. It's if you're sneezing, that means somebody wants to bone you. Um,
Oh my God.
don't
Yes.
throw salt over your shoulder because that's a bitch to clean up. And don't drown any fairies by throwing out water out your door without looking outside
Yeah.
because they will kill you and your entire family.
That's the gist of it. And with that cheerful note, goodbye, everybody. We will see you on Monday. I have my own on Kylock. You can find me in the links in the description below, wherever that may lead you. Follow your heart.
Follow your heart and follow your butt. If you
Mhm.
follow your
Follow your
butt,
heart and follow my Twitter.
that too. If you end up following your butt, I'm at phenoxis.net, or you can find me on Instagram at phenoxis. Bye, everybody.
Bye.